Hello, welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network, presented by Primary Arms. So, tonight we're talking about prepping, how it's important, and then also how it relates to reloading. And we have a special guest on tonight, Glen Tate of the Prepping 2.0 podcast, and also he wrote a couple books. Just a couple. So, for those of you who may not be familiar, he wrote the 299 Days series. I do recommend heavily reading that. So it's a great series and kind of goes through, I think, in my personal opinion anyway, it's the most plausible SHTF situation that we could find ourselves in out of all the different ones that are out there. For all the different books and stuff, I would say, in my personal opinion anyway, it's the most plausible. So Glenn, I guess we'll start off with, how did you get into prepping?
Well, and thank you for having me on, by the way. I appreciate it very much. It's great to be on a podcast of a fellow Firearms Radio Network affiliate. I guess you get affiliate status, right? I mean, it sounds like you're like the local news or whatever, for a network, right?
Yep.
But I got into prepping because I grew up poor in the country, and I had an abundance of country boy skills. And then I decided that I didn't like being poor, and I was going to go and do something in the suburbs and be a professional and make a bunch of money and live more comfortably, which I did. And well, not a bunch of money, just, moderate amount of money. And so I went to law school and did all that. And then I realized, as I sat around in my suburban lifestyle, being a lawyer, that I lost a lot of my country boy skills. And I realized how fragile the economy and society and politics and everything that we take for granted in this country, which is the greatest country on earth, by the way. It's just a little bit fragile right now. And I realized that all this can go away really quickly, and that it was going to go away because, we were too rich and fat, dumb, and happy, basically. And we were letting a bunch of stuff slide. We weren't taking care of business. We were letting, socialists run things, and that never turns out well. And so I started preparing because it was reasonable, practical, inexpensive, easy to do. Nothing that we talk about on the Prepping 2.0 show or in the 299 Days books is, well, you take your first $1 million and you buy a bunker. No, none of that, because I don't have $1 million. I don't know about you guys. But although if you're sitting on some primers right now, you probably do have $1 million. But so that's why I got into prepping it. And it wasn't some big, giant cataclysm, some big, there are no conspiracy theories in my world. It's just that it just makes sense to be able to take care of stuff on your own. And boy, has that turned out to be true. A lot of the stuff, I hate to say this, but time is short, so I'll cut to the chase. I wrote 299 Days 10 years ago, and a bunch of stuff that I predicted has come true because it's like what you said, Mike. It's not, or it's the most plausible explanation of what was going to happen and now what has happened, because the more dramatic something is, the less likely it is to occur. There's a 1 in a trillion chance of a meteorite striking the earth and killing everybody. That's pretty dramatic, but it's pretty unlikely. So I just described what I thought was going to happen in the collapse, the downfall, the unwinding, the unraveling, whatever you want to call it, of the U.S. And it's a series of events that creates a bunch of disruptions that you need to be prepared for. So that's what fuels the prepping, is my view of where the future is going and the reasonable ways to make your chances of living better and your chances of being comfortable. I mean, nobody wants to be without toilet paper, for example. If you stock up on that stuff, your life can be better. It's not all a matter of life and death all the time. There's definite comfort. It's okay. Comfort's okay. Using toilet paper is an okay thing. We're not France yet, so we don't have bidets, thank God. Anyway, so that's why I'm a prepper, and it's become a lifestyle now. It's it's how I live, and it sets my values, what I care about, what I spend my time and money on, and I'm fortunate to have a fantastic wife. The wife in the 299 Days book series, she and I have departed, and now I have a second wife who's a fellow prepper fiction author named Shelby Gallagher. Her book series is called A Great State. It's a prepper novel series, 3 book set that's written from the perspective of a single mom. No one had ever written about that, clipping coupons and stuff like that, and not having, candidly, just not having a man around to take care of all the security stuff. And what do you do when you're a single mom? Because there's all of us on this show, everyone listening, right, knows somebody who's a single mom. And single moms, when stuff falls apart, are going to have some really big challenges staring them in the face. And there needed to be a book that talked about all that. So anyway, that's the answer. That's as short of an answer as I can give on a big topic.
So for someone who isn't prepping now, I guess we should probably define like the basic definition of prepping, and then kind of explain how somebody would get into that if they're not doing any of it currently.
Yeah, prepping is just short for preparedness. The term prepper and prepping has kind of taken on a bad, I don't know, tone right now, which kind of bugs me. I can't, but I can't come up with a better one. Um, Survivalist was really a terrible one. That was more of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and that has a bunch of bad images associated with it. So prepping is just being prepared for whatever may come, and it's taken. I keep saying this, but it's really important. Reasonable steps to be prepared for what's coming, and a lot of the scenarios that people prepare for involve things like inflation and political unrest and social unrest, the possibility of a tyrannical, oppressive government. Gun control comes in. That's one of the primary features of an oppressive government, of every single oppressive government, obviously. And so, as things get bad, as the good life is no longer possible, and America had it pretty good. I grew up mostly in the 80s, and the 80s were magnificent. There's stuff on YouTube you can watch, TV ads from the 80s, and it's like going back in time, right? I mean, people seem genuinely happy and all that other stuff, but when there are disruptions to food and energy and security, that's what you need to prepare for, and you need to take care of stuff on your own. It's the way we've always done it. It's the way people all over the world have always done it. They've always taken care of stuff on their own. It's kind of a new invention to have the government take care of everything for everybody, and it doesn't work anywhere in the world. So it's taking care of yourself, and it's the peace of mind that comes with knowing that you can handle most situations. Now, obviously, I can't handle 30 degrees below zero for 6 months. You know what I mean? I mean, you got to be reasonable about it. But I mean, most situations you can prepare for and do just fine and live in some comfort too.
So for the average suburbanite, what kind of steps are they looking at to start? I mean, are they looking at building a bunker, or is there just some basic stuff that they can start doing?
Well, the first thing to do is mentally accept, I think, the undeniable fact that there are going to be disruptions. There already have been some. The TP scare of 2020, spring of 2020, right? It seems funny now, but for the first time in a lot of Americans' lives, they saw empty shelves that they'd never seen before, and it occurred to them, oh my goodness, there could be disruptions in supplies. So it's accepting that there can be disruptions. And once you accept that there is a possible problem, and nobody needs to freak out and obsess about it, but once you accept that there could be a problem, then your mind is free to work on all the solutions. And so the number one thing is mental, is accepting it. I think getting a little bit of food, a little bit of extra food, that's always key. Water is so often overlooked, because we just turn on the faucet and the water comes out, and we just expect it to be that way. Plus, water isn't interesting. Now, guns are super interesting, right? And there are a lot of guys, primarily guys, who will spend a lot of time and energy on guns and not any on water. And water it's ironic. It is the least expensive and easiest thing to prepare for, and yet it is also the most critical. When do those two lines of like affordability and critical ever cross, right? Normally the things that are critical are super expensive, but and by water I mean water treatment pills, filters, things like that. You die after 3 days without water, and when the electricity is off for 3 or so days or more, all the pumps that we have, in any kind of water system, even water wells, right? If you live out in the country and you have a water well, you still probably have an electric well pump. This isn't a problem for just urban and suburban people. And so water is a big one. A little bit of basic medical. And by the way, you can learn just about everything I'm talking about on YouTube. Now, I wouldn't recommend necessarily learning how to reload on YouTube, because you could double charge things and all of that. I had a friend who had a beautiful Kimber 1911 that got blown up because of a squib. So that's how I learned that that was important to do that right. But there's so many things you can learn on YouTube. Most of the information is pretty sound. You can learn how to home can. You can learn how to preserve food. You can learn basic electrical stuff. Have a little solar panel and things for charging your phone or your AM/FM radio. Those are going to come back to be important after there's a disruption of the internet, for example. So it's a lot of mental, and it's a lot of the basic stuff. We call the basic level of stuff prepping 1.0. It's the first step. And then on our show, Prepping 2.0, we talk about the next levels, the intermediate levels. We focus a lot on community, because you can't get through this on your own, but you can't just, open up your home to your neighbors and say, hey, I got a bunch of food. Let's just all work together. That could turn out pretty poorly. That's one of the things about this, is that people that seem really nice now, when they're hungry and they're stressed and they're sleep deprived and they're terrified because there's gunfire going on, because it sounds like Juarez. I mean, when that kind of stuff's going on, people that are nice will not be so nice. So how you approach the community aspect, takes a little bit of thought, and we've got some thoughts on that. We talk a lot about water. We talk about on Prepping 2.0 comms. Basic radio stuff's a lot easier than it seems. And you don't have to spend thousands of dollars and devote all your time and energy to some new hobby. A lot of guys listening, and most of them are men, so I say guys, a lot of people listening probably have a lot of hobbies already. And if you say, oh, just spend 10 hours a week on this one thing, you've already lost them. So you can just sort of passively pick up information by listening to podcasts. Recommend our podcast, and also just YouTube stuff. And that's one of the cool things about the era we live in, is that there's never been more free information at our fingertips than there is now. And so you should take advantage of it and learn some stuff, and not only just to know how to live and be comfortable, but to stretch yourself, to do things that maybe you're not interested in and you need to learn about. And this has happened to me. Small engine repair and electrical stuff, never had any interest in, never knew anything about, learned a little bit about it. And I feel, better for having learned a little bit about it. It's fun to learn stuff. So those are some thoughts on how to get started. It's very doable. That's my bottom line for me to leave with folks. Very doable.
So you remember back in the 80s, melt happened?
Sure.
The survival guns.
Yep.
So we go back to that, and what was the other guy's name?
Boston
James,
Tea Party.
Boston Tea Party. James, what was his name? James, I don't remember all of them, but that was what led me to buy my 300 acres in Missouri.
Yeah.
Now I'm too old, so I don't worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
But the toilet paper, you got a container, a 20-foot container full of toilet paper at your house.
We have an inventory system, 792 rolls.
Okay.
We actually came up with a way of compressing them using space saver bags, for like pillows and not mattresses, covers. What do you call those? Comforters. And you put the vacuum cleaner on them and you shrink them down.
Okay.
And so yeah, we are set on it with TP. I know I sound like a crazy man. 792 rolls of toilet paper, but it's comforting.
And it's currency.
Yeah. And charity. That's another thing about prepping. I mean, is if you needed more reasons to prep other than your own life and your family's life and comfort, preppers are going to be able to save a lot of lives and help a lot of people. And, you got to be careful when it comes to giving stuff out, because then people know you have stuff. And that's a big balancing act. But there's going to be a lot of charity done by preppers. And so all those people out there, not you guys, but I mean, the general population, who laugh at preppers and think it's crazy to have, 792 rolls of toilet paper. Yeah, well, wait until, they need that toilet paper. I was going to say something gross, but I don't know your audience well enough. Maybe I shouldn't. So, but when they need that toilet paper, they're going to be instant converts. It'll be too late then, but at least maybe you can help some folks out in a tragic situation.
This situation gives a whole new meaning to the term rough as a corn cob.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And there are only so many pockets on your Carhartt shirt that you can snip off, right? You can only do that once.
Yeah.
Yep.
The biggest thing I think a lot of people don't understand, if it really gets that bad, is if the infrastructure of where they live goes down. You lose your water, you lose your sewer. Then there's going to be real panic.
Yeah, and electricity is obviously a big one too. The supposedly the CIA has done a study that if there was an EMP, which is an electromagnetic pulse, which one nuclear detonation over the U.S. at the right height, theoretically, of course, it's never been tested, theoretically would fry every circuit and power line and all that other stuff. So you would be without electricity. They estimate within a year there'd be a 90% die-off rate. I think it'd be like 95% probably. And that's just a catastrophe. There's no coming back from that one. There's no happy ending to an EMP. A lot of fiction series have an EMP as the event that causes all the breakdowns.
1 second after.
Yeah, fantastic book. Yeah, one of the early books I read that really opened my eyes to this, and it's so comprehensively awful that I pray to God quite literally that we never suffer an EMP. In a lot of ways, I hate to be anticlimactic. I'm trying to motivate people to prep, but if there's an EMP, I don't know that there's too much you can realistically do. It's pretty dire.
Well, as long as certain things aren't electronically controlled, older diesel trucks, 60s cars, okay, they'll work.
Yeah. Reloading presses
work. Manual labor is a way, to understand, how things will happen. Old heavy equipment will work. I mean, the older stuff doesn't have electronic fuel injection, doesn't have computer controls. A lot of that stuff will still work. Diesel, all it needs is power just to start. So, on that old stuff, there's things that will work as far as that goes. But your newer trucks and that kind of stuff ain't going to cut it. As far as the your local, where you live and how you get along with the local people, and how you how you perceive them as fitting into into where you live and everything, and what's going to happen with them. That's the $64,000 question.
Yeah, the people you're around are absolutely critical, because like I was saying, that nice person isn't going to be so nice when they're hungry and they know that you've got stuff and they don't. And it's not just that you've got stuff and they don't. The other thing that's going to be going through their mind, and this is talked about in the 299 Days book series, is that the unprepared people are going to be pissed at themselves that they didn't get prepared. And they're going to feel guilty. And it's not going to be like guilt, like, woe is me, gee whiz, I'm going to put my head down and be all mopey. It's going to be angry guilt. It's going to be, yeah, well, you have stuff and I need it. And why are you hogging it up? And there's going to be some really weird emotions going on. So, yeah, that's going to be a problem. And as far as, where you're at, the more rural the location in general, the better. This doesn't mean that rural areas have it made. There's going to be rural gangs. There's human beings, when things are scarce and there's no law around and people think there's no accountability, like you can't get arrested because there's no cops and there's no court anymore, no jails anymore. People will do horrible things. They do it all over the world and throughout every period of history when they think they can get away with it. And so there will be gangs. Now, I think rural areas, the big advantage you have is you've got less people. People are a problem in a collapse. And the fewer people around you in general, the better off you are. Now, if you need a doctor or something like that, then you're going to want to have a doctor around or something like that. But in general, and everything I say is really generalized, and there's all kinds of exceptions to these rules, but it helps. And we recently moved from Western Washington State to a teeny town in Montana, and I can tell you, it's true that location makes a difference. We had on our show Matt Bracken, who's a prepper fiction author and a former SEAL, and yeah, he's a great guy. And he and I asked him a question. Normally, I'm a lawyer, by the way, so I usually know the answer to the questions I ask, because I've been burned too many times in court and in depositions where I ask questions I don't know the answer to, and it burns me. So I took an unusual risk when he was on the show one time, and I asked him, what are the top 3 things people need to consider when it comes to being a successful prepper? And he stunned me by saying location, location, location. I thought that was a brilliant answer, because he's absolutely right. It is critical. One of the things we chronicle, I guess, on the show is the exodus of people from blue states to red states. We're living it, so we feel it. It's personal to us, but it's undeniable that there is an exodus, and there are good reasons for it. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
But are the blue moving to the red for the right reason? Okay,
No.
that's the problem. Okay. I know, because I've seen it in where I was, and they don't get along with the people, the locals. They have their own way of doing things, and they vote differently. And then Colonel Cooper, you told us a long time ago that in a town of 10,000, what would fit in the magazine of a 45 would take care of the problem. Used to. Okay. Not anymore. We've become a very the number of people that are on drugs to maintain their equilibrium has increased almost 100 times. It's nothing for people to live on depressants now and everything else. We treat our children, with drugs, Ritalin, and all this other kind of stuff. The children don't get to experience what real life is, so they are dependent upon on things. So there's a real problem out there as far as that goes.
You mentioned something, the number of people on prescription antidepressants. Something else that is covered in the 299 Days book series is what's going to happen. I've seen various figures. I probably have them wrong, so don't quote me on it. I've 1 in 5 rattles around in my head as far as the number of people that have been on or are on various antidepressants. 1 in 5 seems really high to me, but it's what I remember. But anyway, all those folks are going to have supply disruptions when there are no, semi trucks coming from thousands of miles away with those pills to stock the local drugstore. It's going to be really, really bad. And there are going to be lots of perfectly nice, wonderful, good people who are going to lose it. And there's a scene in the books where a nice person is off of his meds and ends up getting killed, and because the local security guys had to do something about it, and that's going to be really tragic. It's one thing when true bad guys get killed, because you're doing society a favor, but when good people have to be taken out, it's going to be horrible. It's going to really, really be horrible.
You're right, and it's going to be more. It's going to be worse than even that when you get down to it, because there's also going to be a lot of people that are going to sit down, barricade themselves in, and try to hide from what's happening, and they're going to suffer even worse with no outside interaction with people.
Yeah, there'll probably be a lot of suicides, especially as this thing goes on for a fair amount of time. The initial stages, people will have that survival instinct and they'll be trying to survive. But if it's so bad that people conclude that there's either no way to live or there's nothing to live for, those being two different things, suicide's going to be a really big problem. And it's going to be terrible. I feel like I'm bringing the house down. You guys are just all,
No, we're just being honest.
Yeah.
Glenn, I've always said that reloading is a survival skill, but survival skills are far more than reloading.
Yeah, nothing that you're saying is untrue. Just for the little lockdown period we had during COVID, how many people got depressed and just couldn't survive and improve? They needed socialism, and it was like, okay, it's not the end of the world, and you guys are really freaking out.
I like that. We needed socialism.
Yeah, no.
I think you meant social contact, didn't you, Sharonda?
No, I literally meant socialism.
Yeah, I know what she
like
meant.
people working from home, we socialized all the time, or either not, and they couldn't handle it.
Socialism is one step above communism. I think you meant socialization.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. You're right. I'm tired, but yeah.
No, but we still look at the way our government reacted to the COVID thing with socialism, with more steps to socialism. Okay,
talk about overreaction.
Yeah, they gave away money. Okay, our money, they just printed more. They sat down and all of a sudden put rules up as far as travel, as far as everything else. That's socialism.
They made companies well, they didn't. Well, yeah, they pretty much made companies
That's
force
right.
some of their employees to. What I've been telling people is to be biologically raped
Yeah.
to take a vaccine that they didn't necessarily want, but they felt kind of cornered because they needed a job.
Sorry to interrupt, Glenn. Please continue. You're
No,
doing
no, please,
you're
no.
doing just fine, sir.
It's a conversation, and I'm just one member of it. I'd like to pick up, Jim, on what you said about reloading and preparedness. I am a big proponent of reloading as a prepping skill to have and equipment to have. That being said, I'm a hypocrite because I don't currently reload. I could come on here and tell you guys that I'm a big reloader, and then you'd start saying, well, you'd start throwing jargon at me, and it would be pretty obvious that I'm not a reloader. It's for me, it's a matter of time to devote to it, and so I know that's a terrible excuse. I shoot a lot, so I probably should reload. I will note that the 299 Days books have this amazing cast of characters called the Team, right? And they're these really cool individuals. They're all real. I didn't make any of it up. In fact, um, one of the main characters on the team is a 6-foot Korean gunfighter who sells insurance. He's my friend who's in real life a 6-foot Korean gunfighter who sells insurance. There's no creativity going on at all. And so, but the real team, we would reload when we would go and shoot. We would collect our brass, and then we would go over to Pow's house. He's the guy I mentioned, and we would sort brass, and he would primarily reload. I mean, I'd run some of the machines. I couldn't tell you how to do it, but it's a fantastic way to recycle. Right? Everyone's about recycling, and I think reloading is going to become even more important when traditional, factory-made ammunition is harder to get. Of course, the big Achilles heel, I'm guessing, and you guys can tell me if I'm right or wrong, the big Achilles heel with reloading and supply disruptions is that there's primers and powder and projectiles, all those things. You kind of have to stockpile them, for lack of a better term,
That's
for it
right.
all to work. So it's not a magic bullet. There you go. That was a pun. I didn't even intend that, but that just kind of happened.
Oh,
Yeah, that was dumb.
no, that's
You
fine.
you can make projectiles. Okay, that can happen. You have a hard time producing primers and powder. So, if you can go that way, you can reload. But right now, like you say, you sit down on 10,000 primers, you're a millionaire.
Yeah, that's right. And so, yeah, but reloading shows a prepping mindset because you're not counting on those magic boxes from Midway USA showing up, those very heavy boxes, right? Um, and so you're thinking about your own supply. Obviously, there's experimentation and there's working up your own loads and all of these other things. That's a separate reason to reload. But if you're a reloader, I would think you've got the mindset you've already got the prepping mindset, and you should just carry out that mindset and branch out into the prepping areas that I was talking about earlier, water and food and all those other things. I also think that one of the undervalued parts of prepping, one of the under-discussed, that's what I mean, under-discussed aspects of prepping is barter. You don't have to have it all. You can't. I mean, I jokingly say, what are you going to do? Walk into a Home Depot and say, I'll take one of everything, right? So that you have those plumbing fittings that you need. You can't possibly have everything you need. And so barter is how human beings take care of things they don't need. And when they have an abundance of stuff they don't need, and then they need other stuff, I have a feeling that reloaders are going to be some of the richest people in their neighborhoods, assuming they can trust whoever it is that they're bartering with and supplying ammunition to. Of course, that can end up coming back to come at you, right, from the barrel of the other guy's gun. So you got to be careful. But you don't have to have it all. And one of the ways to get it all is to have a skill or to have stuff or preferably both. And reloading would be a combination of skill and stuff. And so, I'm not saying don't prep, but you don't have to prep as hard if you've got stuff that you could trade, and reloading's right up that alley.
Glenn, what's your take on bugging in or bugging out? Because not everybody's got a place they can, go to or stockpile somewhere else.
Yeah, you make an excellent point. Bugging out is the cool thing. It always happens in books. It happened in 299 Days. It happens in my wife's books, A Great State. And it tells the story better. It captures the imagination better. But let's not forget, guys, this is just fiction, right? I mean, you can't script your life from a fiction book. And so bugging in and bugging out, it all depends on your situation. Very few people have the ability to bug out. You're either already in a place like Western Montana, or you're not. And I think a lot of people are going to take a lot of risk unnecessarily and bug out. If you just load up the car and just decide to head west, east, or north, whatever it may be, south, that could be a big problem if you don't have a place to go. There's going to be incredible traffic jams. There will be hostile checkpoints, whether it's, Antifa or the National Guard, or, out in the country, if it's going to be Bubba and his crew, there's going to be roadblocks, and you've got to navigate through there. So it's a serious topic. You have to have a really good plan. I know I'm not really directly answering the question, but I will indirectly say, whether it's going to be bugging in or bugging out, you have to have a really good plan, and don't assume that bugging out is the only solution. And there are a lot of people, they live in suburbs and even urban areas because they have to. They're taking care of an elderly relative. A good friend of mine on the Real Team, he's a police officer, and he has a pension, and he's got 5 more years before he vests into his pension. He'd be out of his mind to move out of the Seattle area where he lives. And by the way, I get so many amazing updates and stories from a Seattle area cop. It's unbelievable. But not everybody can pack up and go.
Right.
And so, good question for sure.
Bug out bags are okay, but I think it's more like you better have a bug out kit that you keep available for yourself wherever you are.
Bug out bags, boy, that's a personal pet peeve of mine. A lot of people, I hope I'm not stepping on any toes of your listeners, but a lot of people think that if they have a bug out bag, they're set because, for example, they're going to go to a national forest and live off the land and stuff. They'll find their bodies in the spring, basically. That's how that's going to turn out. But a bug out bag it's a crutch. It's not enough. And there's also a lot that goes into bugging out. Let's say you have a place to go to and you have a good plan and you're going to bug out. There's all kinds of planning, and there's what vehicle, what fuel, taking a trailer, things like tongue weight, all these things you never thought of, right? That could really become important. And I'm a big fan of if stuff's falling apart, go ahead and rent that U-Haul for that 3-day rental. And if it's impossible to get it back to where you got it from, then, I guess they're going to charge your credit card or whatever without electricity. Good luck having that happen. And so there's all kinds of thought that goes into bugging out beyond just having a bug out bag and getting in the car. This doesn't mean it's hard to do. It just means that you need to put some time and effort into it. My goodness, it's literally your life. And more importantly, it's your family's life. You should put some thought into it and come up with a realistic plan. There are a lot of, and candidly, there's a lot of preppers. I call it buy it now preppers. They're on Amazon, and there's that tan or yellow button, that buy it now thing. And they just say, oh, here's a bunch of stuff on a checklist that I need. I'm going to buy it now and put it in the garage. And that's all the thought they put into it. My God, it's your life. how can you not take this really seriously? And the answer is because most Americans have never had to think about it or take it seriously, and they don't, and it shows. And they're going to end up being in a bad situation. All that stuff they bought it now on Amazon is going to end up in some motorcycle gang's hands. That's how that's going to turn out. Kind of depressing, huh?
Yeah, I think instead of like a bug out bag, I think Sticks from Armed Squirrels was talking about it. He's got a get home bag instead.
That's what I was thinking. A get home bag. That's kept always in my truck. So just hey, throw it on. Truck gun, throw that on, and go from there. I'd rather get home and work from the stockpile that I have than try to go someplace and not have anything. So,
yep.
Yeah, I've been buying stuff, here and there when I can and figuring out what works for me. But what I've noticed with some people that are trying to come up with bug out bags or bug home bags, they don't even open that stuff to make sure they know how to use it, which is what bothers me a lot.
Oh, geez, I hate to keep talking about it, but there's a character in the books that I wrote, Dr. Green, the podiatrist. I don't know why I decided to pick on podiatrists. They're probably nice people, but he's the classic guy. He buys all this stuff, and for example, he gets this ATV that runs on a fuel oil mixture, and he never actually runs it. He doesn't read the manual. I hate instructions. I hate reading instructions. But when it comes to like the fuel oil mixture, it's kind of important to actually read the instructions. And he ends up burning the thing out, and that was just an example. There's going to be tons of people, and especially with radios, people think that they just buy some FRS radios at Walmart, and the package says 30-mile range.
yeah.
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 0.3 of a mile is maybe more like it, and they don't try them out. They don't have the energy. They don't have the motivation to actually get it done. They just think that buying it, because we're used to just buying stuff and that's all you need, and that works for a lot of stuff. Can you imagine reloading? Oh yeah, I just got a Dillon press, and so now I know how to reload. I've never actually done it, but I've got the stuff. It's all sitting in a plastic bag. I haven't even unpacked it. I haven't even put it on a bench. I mean, it just work, right? And that's something, and that's a topic, reloading. The worst you're out is that you can't reload ammunition, and that's bad. But that's not like you don't know how to cook food. Cooking food is a great example. There are so many people in this country that don't know how to use a can opener. Like my millennial Gen Z daughter, for one, she's in her mid-20s, smart as a whip, has no idea how to use a can opener. That's right, Glen Tate's daughter doesn't know how to use a can opener. Actually, I did teach her, but it makes a good story. But there are all kinds of people that they don't complete all the steps necessary. And it's so easy to do. All you have to do is try this stuff out. All you have to do is say, we're going to eat dinner tonight with our prep foods. Oh, geez, they all come in cans. Oh, where's that can opener? Oh, geez, how do you use it? And by the way, can openers, a quick funny story about can openers. In the 299 Days books, I talk about going to the dollar store, Dollar Tree, Dollar General. They all, different names. Now they're like the $5 store with inflation, right? There's nothing that's $1 anymore in them. But anyway, in the Olympia Dollar Store, my books take place in Olympia, Washington. And I talk about in the books getting tons of can openers for $1 back when they were $1. I sound so old, right? Can openers back when they were $1. But and I was talking to the manager of the dollar store in Olympia, Washington, and I walked up to the kitchen section, and there was this this empty space where all the can openers were. And I said, why don't you guys have any can openers? And she said, it's the weirdest thing. We sell those things like hotcakes. We can't keep them in stock. So I guess people read the books, right? Or maybe they just realize they need can openers. Can openers are a great thing to hand out as a charity item too. They cost $1 or $2 or $3 or whatever they are now. And you want to talk about a way to help somebody without giving away all your food and without giving away the information that you have food. It's like, hey, I got an extra can opener. I'm sure this could come in handy. So anyway, that's my my rant about can openers, but it's a great illustration of how people are just, I don't know, they're used to Uber Eats, I guess, right? I mean,
Wow.
I don't.
You're doing really good here. You're going to give them a can opener, but but they have no cans to open.
Yeah, well, they could barter. They could, work. They could
Glenn?
do some physical labor in exchange for some cans of food. Yes, sir.
You want to blow your daughter's mind? Hand her
Okay.
a P-38.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I love those things. I used to when I was in high school, I was in Civil Air Patrol, the Air Force Auxiliary, and they actually gave us in-flight meals, which were the Air Force version of sea rations.
Right.
And they all had a P-38, and I love those things. Yeah, those are great. Yeah, they work really well. They're very handy, and they're small. And
Make
light.
sure you tell her not to cut herself on the lid.
Yeah, exactly.
She figures it out.
Yeah.
I don't think most people realize canned food you really don't even have to cook. Most of it's pre-cooked.
Oh, exactly. And canned food lasts a lot longer than people think. If you don't dent it and it's not rusted, and it takes 10 years or something for that stuff to rust. If it's bulged out, that means that there's been some air getting in and it's got bacteria going and it produces gas that pops the top and the bottom up, bows it. And so there's canned food. There was a ship in Montana, of all places, in the 1860s along some river, and it had commercially canned food. It was going up to a gold mine or something like that. And it crashed, sunk, I guess. Ships sink, they don't crash, right? And they, in the 1970s, so 110 years later, they opened up some of the cans of food. Nobody ate it because it would be disgusting, but there was no bacteria in it. It was still safe after 110 years. And so another thing.
I question the safety part of it, because in those days they used lead to seal the cans.
Yeah. Separately unhealthy, but there's tons of canned food that I think people throw a lot of food away when it's past the best by date. Well, of course, it just means it's best by that date, and it's a way of rotating and all that other stuff and making you buy more stuff. We've done entire shows on Prepping 2.0 about food preps, and we spend a lot of time talking about the myths of expiration dates. Basically, there are very few items that the expiration dates are actually dangerous and going to kill you. In fact, I can't come up with any examples off the top of my head. I know there are a couple with medicines, for example, with some antibiotics. There's one particular kind, I think tetracycline off the top of my head, that if it's expired, it actually is bad for you. But I mean, you got to really dig for examples of things past their expiration date that are going to actually hurt you. And another thing I foresee when the collapse really gets rolling and things get really nasty, there are going to be all kinds of people initially throwing away old food and really regretting that they did it. And that's going to be that angry guilt thing that comes back. People are going to be mad at themselves. Why didn't I spend 6 minutes and watch a YouTube video on expiration dates? Well, I was too busy, watching Netflix? I mean, what's more important than figuring out how to live? It just frustrates me that so many people in the general population are such idiots. But anyway, you guys, you probably agree. I mean, if you're reloaders, you're like, why wouldn't everyone reload, right?
Reloaders are the original recyclers.
Yep.
And even canned like canning jars, those are still good for a couple of years. they're not as good as the tin cans. They won't last as long typically because the way they're sealed doesn't hold as well. Plus, usually the way that it's prepped, it's not designed for long term, whereas your regular canned food is.
Yeah, and the glass jars let light in, which degrades the food.
Yeah.
As as far as canned food goes, I mean, I had a couple years ago a big number 10 tin of mandarin orange segments, which I love. I love mandarin oranges,
Oh
canned
yeah.
mandarin oranges, and it was 9 years past the best by date, and it was just fine. Another thing, and Mike, you as a reader of the books will appreciate this because you know that pow and pancakes are uh, are a big storyline, right? And so
Yep.
we had the team over, and we were making pancakes and made pancakes, and pow, because he's a big eater, um, he was gobbling down the pancakes. I said, are those good pancakes? He said, yeah, these are great. And I said, yeah, these are 7 years past the best by date, and these were just the Costco Crusties pancakes that come in that really thick plastic bag. There was no vacuum sealing. There's no oxygen absorbers. It was like it had been on the shelf at Costco for 7 years, is basically how preserved it was, which isn't very preserved at all. And he was fine. It tasted just fine. And pancake mix has a little bit of shortening, which is fat, which can go rancid. Wasn't even a problem. He was not thrilled that we were experimenting on him and that I was basically seeing if he got sick so I could tell a funny story. But we're close, so we're
Glenn,
brothers.
Glenn, one of the things that might get people involved is learning how to actually can with actual cans, because the sealing part of it is what it's a gadget, and men like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
A funny story about men and canning. If this for the single guys out there, maybe this will motivate you to learn how to home can. I know how to can because it's a skill I need to know. And I was at the not the grocery store. I was at a Winco. I don't know if they have those where you guys are, but I was buying home canning stuff, and so I got my shopping cart full of mason jars and lids and stuff like that. And a very attractive lady. Now I was married, and so I didn't pursue it, but very attractive lady thought it was very cool that a guy would can. So if you want to pick up chicks, you might learn how to can. I'm just saying, whatever motivates you. It's the same thing that happened when I was stocking up on feminine products for the ladies in my household, and I went to a Walmart and I had a cart filled to the brim with feminine products, and the checker, who was an attractive lady, said, oh my goodness, you're just the most thoughtful man in the world. You're so wonderful. So prepping is a great way to pick up chicks. So just consider that.
And and feminine products are a good way to plug bullet holes.
Yeah. Good barter item.
Yep. So
this topic, I don't know if I should even bring it up, but just imagine surviving without those feminine products on the market at all. How did they do it in the 1800s, the 1700s, and so on and so forth, before such things, niceties were created?
Oh, Jim, it's a whole new world. I don't want to gross you guys out with the things available to women now for the apocalypse.
I understand, Shrenda.
We got that covered.
Okay, good. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it, sweetheart. Glad to hear it. God.
You'd be surprised. That's when, for being women that gather around and talk about the outdoors and stuff, that is the one topic that comes up, and you'd be surprised.
Well, enlighten us, please. If you don't,
we can handle it. We're tough guys. We can handle it.
Silicone cups.
Yeah.
You may have heard of them called Diva cups. They come in all shapes and sizes, and you can boil them to sterilize and clean them.
Okay.
That's it.
Yep.
Okay.
Otherwise, the other option is multiple layers of clothing. So there's all sorts of different options. Bundle up T-shirts,
Yeah, Yeah, I realize that. It's just
So
you know, the kiddies that we have today that are growing up in this hyper developed world. I read every book that on from 1 second after every one of the trilogy, and it took 5 years before they even. It took place, as you guys know, took place here in North Carolina, not too far up in the mountains, up west, out west, up in the mountains, not too far from Asheville. It took 5 years to get even close to reliable electricity for 8 hours a day for the
yeah,
town.
Yeah.
5 years before you could get reliable electricity on a limited time basis.
you're basically looking at 1700s.
Yeah.
So
With a bunch of the general population entitled,
oh yeah,
Yeah.
impatient snowflakes. That's the difference. The 1700s, you didn't have that stuff,
That's right.
and now we do. And
Back then they made rail fences out of split rails. How do you split a rail? Cut a tree down.
Well, the biggest thing that I'm seeing is we have a certain proportion of the population that is fully funded by the government, and we have close to 25% of the people working for the government.
Those
Yeah.
folks,
You know,
those folks will be among the first to find out how hard things are going to be.
well, what do you think they're going to do?
Die.
Well, eventually, yes, but
No, I mean, when they'll wind up trying to take and rob everybody else, and eventually they'll wind up finding out they should have been prepping right along.
I got some family members that make the joke. Well, if something happens, we're gonna come to your house.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah,
don't know.
no, you're not.
They don't know where I live.
yeah,
Good.
I apologize, lady and gentlemen. I need to. I actually have. I got to do some work. I got a meeting this evening that I need to go do. So
Okay.
I thank you so much for having me on. It was a fantastic
Absolutely.
conversation.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
Thanks
it
for
was
coming
great meeting you guys, and thank you so much. And I need to get on another Zoom call for work, though. Yeah.
Right?
well,
Thanks, Glenn.
Great. Thanks for
we
joining us.
appreciate you coming
Thanks.
out.
Thank you so
And,
much.
Absolutely. Thanks, Glenn.
All right.
All right.
Oh, I had to smack my hand. I am not at work and don't need to hit leave meeting.
Phil Rabelais would be proud of us tonight.
Mhm. So as far as the reloading aspect, what are we looking at? I mean, I look around my room. I got sitting here. I got a bunch of stuff, but I mean,
What are we looking at, Mike? Single stage.
right?
Because remember, if you have to reload without electricity, that Dylan, even my Dylan 550 with a brass feeder on it, is not going to be worth much.
Well, you can still hand feed it.
You can still hand feed it.
Yeah.
You know?
That's right. That's right. I meant the brass feeder itself is not going to be worth much.
No. I mean, I look at it at as a prepping reloader. Half
Travis
my
is
stuff
screwed.
Yeah, but I'm looking at half my stuff I wouldn't use.
Yep.
3/4 of my stuff I wouldn't use. I'd be sitting there looking at, give me my dies, my balance beam powder scale. I could throw all my good stuff out.
You'd be a hunting reloader, is what you would be.
Yep.
Even my still quasi newbie buds acquired some hand loading equipment to have. I've been tinkering around with. So
yeah, we all sit down and look at it and go, okay, the balance beam scale would be back. The duo flow or a powder measure would get used more, or the
Dippers. I mean,
dippers.
yeah.
Cleaning brass. How are we going to do that? Are you going to sit down, pedal the bike to power your tumbler? No, I don't think so. So you're going to get out the the little pieces of 4/0 steel wool and scrape it around a little bit and go on to the next one. It's going to be a tough job.
Now, see, this is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to combine a little bit of reloading technology with a little bit of exercise. Get me one of them little ice cream buckets. And I'm going to put some of my walnut media in there, and I'm going to put the brass in there, and then I'm going to strap that thing in my ass and shake it for all I'm worth.
Yeah.
And there we go.
5-gallon bucket, some hot water, and some dish detergent, a little lemon shine, and swish it for about 10 minutes is really all you need.
Oh, Vanessa's got a good idea. Hand crank commercial salad spinner, 5-gallon capacity.
Yeah.
Michael Dunn said Cool Whip container and some mussels.
Yeah.
A regular 5-gallon bucket,
Yeah.
and you just you grab the handle and you just twist it back and forth.
Yeah.
Or take your hands in and just kind of you be the material mover versus the vibratory.
Is it worth putting out the energy to do it? You got to remember, you have to replace these calories to out of your stock. So you're sitting there, whatever you're going to lose, you gotta put back.
Yeah. No, honestly, at this point in time, I'm probably not going to bother cleaning the brass.
Right.
That's right.
If I do, it's because it's absolutely filthy and I can't load it.
I mean, but if you want to also keep in shape during,
well, you will keep in shape. I guarantee.
Oh yeah, because you're. I mean,
that
6-pack of donuts that you love to pound down every couple days. No,
right. Where you're getting your something to heat your house with or heat your whatever you're in. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to cut some wood down in order to do it, and that means an axe and your hand saws and all that kind of fun stuff.
Firewood warms you twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife and I got into so-called prepping shortly after we got married. We would buy 5 extra cans of green beans, corn, and put those away. And we'd rotate. So before long, every time you go shopping, you got quite an assortment of extra cans put aside. We do the same thing with hamburger. We buy it in bulk, repackage it, put it in the freezer. As long as you got power. But and we did that. Eventually, you save up money. You buy a Berkey water filter. You buy a ham radio. You buy, you're not going to do it overnight, but it's a, like Glenn was saying, it's a lifestyle. You got to start small and work big.
You just mentioned something, Ray, reminded me. Meat can also be canned, as in cold packed, mason jars.
Yeah.
That'll last a lot longer than will without power than it will in the freezer.
Right.
That's what I was trying to say before, that if you look at what regular canning, regular tin type canning, that little sealer and everything else that goes with it.
But are they even offering that type of thing anymore?
Oh,
I
yeah.
haven't seen it in years.
Yeah,
We
you
sell
can
it.
still get it.
You guys sell that, Nick?
We sell it at the farm store I work at. We sell about most of the canning stuff you can think of.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's hard to get because almost everybody got into canning there. For a while.
Mike, look up Lehman's Hardware out of Ohio. Lehmans.
are you?
Well, I haven't bothered to look at Farm and Fleet or Fleet Farm, which are a couple of the farm stores up here.
Okay.
So
Someplace else you guys can look for canning stuff too, which men especially are not aware of it, is retailers like Bed Bath and Beyond now have ball canning products.
Yeah.
And you can use a coupon and they deliver, and there's one in every major city for now anyway.
Amazon.
Yep.
So
The local grocery store here, Piggly Wiggly, they carry canning jars, lids, and rings.
mm-hmm. And if you can't, I mean, on some of that stuff, if you can't find canning jars or canning lids, but you can get your hands on paraffin, you can do it that way too. It's not going to last years, but it's still going to be 6 months, 12 months, as long as you can keep it temperature controlled. So these solar panels, so D-Dub D37 wants to know, how protective is a gun safe inside a standard house against EMP?
Faraday cage.
So
I just answered him. It's a good question. I think it'd be considered to be like a Faraday cage.
I don't think your average house. I don't know if a gun safe would be good enough as a Faraday cage, but if
You'd have to ground it pretty deep.
yeah. But
No,
the
you
other
need,
issue
all
is
you need is a ground.
Yeah.
All you need is a ground. I mean, the best Faraday cage in the world is a metal garbage can.
Yep. You're
Yeah.
right.
So, I mean, whatever fits in a garbage can, as long as it isn't touching the sides, line it with cardboard, you're fine.
Chicken wire makes a good Faraday cage.
Yeah. So those kind of things, work without a problem. Your car is the hardest part of that about it is the computer on that goes with it. Well, you can put a Faraday cage around it to make it so it doesn't, ground it out. So if you know it's coming, or if you think it's coming, but it's the people that don't know it's coming, or they're thinking they're going to get away,
Right.
and they get in their car and they start driving and it happens, then that's dead. You ever go down try to go down a highway with there's 10,000 cars in the middle of the road, you ain't making it very far.
Nope.
That's why I asked Glenn the question about bugging in and bugging out. I've always been the impression you're safer staying at home. All your
Right.
supplies are at home.
Yep.
You can't take enough. At least you know your neighbors. You should know your
Right.
neighbors. And even though they're going to suffer some, but you got a better chance there than with strangers out on the road.
The plus part about it is, if you're in your house, is that you're familiar with what's in your area.
Right.
The negative part is your neighbors aren't going to be prepared because they're
Right.
not. I mean, that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
The plus part of it is that if it really happens, they're going to be scared as hell, and until things really, really get bad, you're going to be okay.
Yeah. I read somewhere the average American has got less than 15 days worth of food in their house.
Oh, easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's funny. My wife comes from a third world country. It's amazing the prepper skills she brings to the table.
I bet.
Amazing. This house, I know for a fact, has no less than 3 months worth of dry goods in it.
Yeah.
And that's the easy stuff. I mean, you can go to Costco and buy yourself a half a dozen plastic buckets, 5-gallon or larger. Get some of those Mylar bags, and at the same time you're there, get yourself dried beans, dried rice, get rice and other things like that. Put them in a bucket, and you got months of stuff there that you can make.
Yep.
and put to the side, and it's cheap. It's not like going to to the grocery store and buying a bag of split peas, and they charging you $2 for it. You can get for $2 at Costco, you can get 5 pounds of it.
Yep.
And all that kind of stuff can work towards filling out your diet.
Right.
Well,
we got to face reality. We're not going to be eating like we eat now.
No.
Oh no.
Everything will be reduced.
Mylar bags are 5-gallon Mylar bags are pretty cheap. Getting them to seal is a little harder. They don't seal very well with hand sealers. I'm not a big fan of the vacuum sealers that you get from Amazon and that kind of stuff, the cheap ones.
You
If
see
you
them
get
you can
Go
see
ahead.
them with a clothes iron.
Yeah.
Vacuum in a clothes iron.
If you get a good vacuum sealer, one of the pouch types, they work,
Yeah.
and they will do Mylar bags. So, which is nice because you can seal the bags, put them in a pressure cooker, and you can use that to can your meats and things that need to be canned and pressure cooked, and have a lighter weight option. Berlin is Products is one of the places that sells actual cans. So if you need to go there, they can sell you, all different size cans. But water, you Ray, you were saying you got a big Berkeley.
I got a Berkeley, and I keep about 200 gallons of water in HDPE containers.
Okay, they're great. And just having extra filters for them is even more important.
Yeah.
But you can go out and buy Sawyer water filters. I don't know, 3-pack of them, or $50, I think, and they'll do 1,000 gallons at a time.
Yeah.
Got a question for the panel. How many of y'all have at least a couple kerosene lanterns?
Yeah, I do.
I'm sure the rowdies do. Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you, Miss Kitty. I appreciate that. That just made me think about it, which is why I highlighted her comment.
Mm-hmm. Alternative ways of cooking. I keep about 10, 20-pound cylinders of propane around.
I have a rocket stove in the backyard that I can feed with twigs and leaves.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
But a new Yankee candle will warm up a tin can of food.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hell, Ray, that rocket stove works so well. I put a can of food on it, it'll burn it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have to actually use a double boiler.
I don't think I've ever heard of those. I'm gonna have to Google that one.
Basically, Shrinda, it cost me about $15 to $18, and it's a way of stacking bricks up, cement bricks. You can start. You create a U at first, then turn the U on its side with a half brick. Is the left side, the side is to feed the fuel in. The bottom slot is for pulling the ashes out.
Yeah.
And you stack it up about 10, 12 high, you get plenty of good draft. It's amazing. Look up a cheaper, inexpensive rocket stove on YouTube. You'd be surprised how easy it is to make.
Or
you cook with stuff right out of your own yard.
Yeah. You can make a hobo stove out of a tin can. You can do all kinds of stuff.
Okay, yeah. But mine's more permanent,
Yeah.
I restack it as I need to. In fact, my wife's been asking me to come up with something a little bit bigger. So I should put 2 on. Well, now in that case, I'll go with hollow cement blocks or something like that. Use those for the chimney.
Sure.
Okay.
But you can make a rocket. The funny thing is, you can make a rocket stove out of a stump. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Swedish stove, they call it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've actually seen those, and I'm looking for a stump big enough so I can
Okay.
see if I
All
can
you
play
need is a
with
log,
Burn
Shredder.
forever.
All you need is a log.
You really don't even need that. If you've got split firewood,
Oh, yeah.
take 5 or 6 pieces, bundle them together, and leave a gap in the center. And
There you go.
Wrap them up with a chain, Shredder.
Those things will burn forever almost anymore. If you do it right.
But there's lots of ways here that we can prep, and as reloaders, we're preppers, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Mhm.
So, if like I say, I could get down to 1 press, and 1 scale and 1 powder dropper, and I'm fine. And plus my dies.
Excuse
Okay.
me, let me digress again. I highlighted a comment from one of our good friends from down under, Bem Gem. He tried using a rocket stove for casting. It's not quite hot enough. That tickled me. Very good, sir. Very good. Well done.
not hot enough. I'm surprised because
Yeah,
you can
right.
get them really going.
Yes, sir.
So didn't have enough fuel in it.
I'm inclined to try it now.
Well,
Only thing is, the heat would take a good bit of fuel.
I just
Oh,
stick
yeah.
I just stick my Dutch oven I do my smelting with in the fire and go that route.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Hobo stove. Good comment, Paul. Now from running with scissors.
Yeah.
Hobo stove equals Boy Scouts. He did it many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of stuff we did when I was in Scouts. I mean, I had a wonderful scouting experience. Wonderful.
I had good ones. I had terrible ones, and that's why I didn't last long.
Now the thing that I question, and this is something that we all can sit down and put away a month or 2 months or even 3 months of canned food without too much of a problem.
Right.
What about long-term storage? Mountain House, that kind of stuff.
Oh, they're good and they last that long, but they're expensive.
Yeah, okay.
Some is, some isn't. If you do your shopping right, Mountain House itself typically seems to be a little pricier, but there's a lot of other options out there that aren't. Cabela's Bass Pro has a Cabela's brand of a lot of that stuff. Your ramen.
Yeah.
Well, what?
Ramen.
Ramen noodles.
Well,
Ramen noodles.
Here's the thing that I'm looking at. I go, little touches like butter, milk, all these other kind of things that
I'm gonna get me a cow.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna, all these items that you sit down that you want to store for a long time, you can get freeze dried.
Right.
Milk, is not instant milk, but freeze dried milk, which is different.
Yeah.
Because it carries the fat with it. Non-fat dairy milk doesn't have any fat with it. It's just water and white. But
it's horrible.
Right. But there's all these long-term storage things that really are really important. I mean, you can put away enough flour and rice and beans, and you can take pasta and you can put pasta up and all these other kind of things. But you still need something, proteins are some of the ones that are more expensive freeze dried, but you can buy number 10 cans of crumbled beef chunks, chicken chunks. I think they have Spam.
Yeah.
But I'm talking freeze dried here. You can have all these number 10 cans of that. And go from there and just, you put a case, I guess, or of each or 2 cases of each, and you have something to add to your long term to give you some resemblance of what's out, what you used to eat. Children are going to be the hardest part to please.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, most of us here are without children now, so we don't have to deal with that.
Well, we'll talk to Nick and Candy about that.
Yeah.
I see that figure you're flipping at me, Nick.
But
Ray, you're no good. You know that? I bet he still cusses you.
He does. He does.
But that's that's some of the things that some of our listeners are going to have to think about because they have kids.
Yeah.
How are you going to get little ones to eat something that is really different from what you've been eating, their whole time? And then you got to think about the calories that you're going to have to start intaking because of the amount of work that is going out.
Yeah.
Of course, some of us who have a portable modular food storage system, you know, and you have to work that off first.
Right.
We have a new one on screen here
That's cool.
from a guy called Kutcha. This is all the podcast driving truck. First time he's ever seen us live. Thank you, sir. Welcome to the show.
And he forgot the pizza and beer.
Well, we're talking prepping tonight mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul, you mentioned calories and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
You know, I started taking vitamin supplements. Oh, it's been 4 or 5 years now. And that's one thing you're probably going to have to do because you're not going to get everything you need. Eat starch and beans and
Right. And essential oils and everything
That's right.
else are going to be tough to come by too.
right.
So yeah, essential oils are great. Essential vitamins are great for keeping our health up, but you're going to be putting out, what are we at? 2,600 calories a day for a normal man,
Right.
is what they're saying. And in combat, they were giving us, 3,600 calories a day. All right. So you're 1,100 calories short.
Yeah.
And you're going to lose weight real fast at 1,100 calories short every day.
Good news. I got plenty to lose.
I agree. I do too. But,
However,
Go ahead, Mike.
what most people don't realize is your body doesn't take the fat reserves first.
Right.
takes muscle.
Takes muscle.
The thing is, too, even the internet will be gone because we all rely upon the electricity from the power company, variations thereof, step-down computers, and all that mess. But our internet or communication system will simply be toast. It'll be gone. It's volatile, evaporate away just like alcohol.
You also need to think about if you're on
Useless.
medication too.
Yeah.
A lot of
Right.
people don't think about that. Like me, I have to take a thyroid pill. I don't have a thyroid.
Yeah.
I have to make sure I have at least a 6-month prescription on me at all time. But then after 6 months, I gotta figure out what am I gonna do.
Do you have 6 months? Do you keep a 6-month supply around you?
I keep a 6-month supply
Okay.
all time.
Well,
See,
then
now
you just rotate. You just rotate the new behind the old. That's all.
I'm
No.
diabetic.
Mm-mm.
I'm diabetic, and I, so Nick could be inheriting a lot of guns pretty quick.
Yeah.
Are you
You're not-
type 2?
Type 2.
You're not on insulin though, right?
Yes, I am on insulin.
You're on insulin too. Okay. I'm the same way.
And I can get by a month. I got a month supply, but once that's gone, you're
Yeah.
Yep. And those are discussions that, you might have to. Insulin has a shelf life for sure, but like on some of your pill medications, our insurance only want to do 90 days.
yeah.
You gotta have a discussion with your doctor, maybe see if they'll change something a little bit so you can get an extra dose.
Yeah.
Or pay out of pocket to get an extra dose if you can outside of your insurance.
Ray, you just remind me of another part of that series I read. 1 second after, the little boy died after so many months because they kept the insulin supply in the creek and cool water because that was the only source of refrigeration they had during the summer months. And my father and uncle both died from diabetes. I know the old style diabetes was made, insulin was made from animals way back when. I think it's mostly synthesized now. But look, the ignorant question I got to ask is does insulin require refrigeration?
Yes, most of it does.
Yep.
Mhm.
I didn't know that. Forget
But I think you could keep it fairly cool with evaporation because I know when I travel, I got little things I take. You put in there, and the evaporation causes a cooling. So if you didn't have power on, as long as you had water in a darker, shady place, I'm sure you could prolong its life.
Okay.
Is this?
Light affects it very quickly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
and
Heat.
heat. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I have an insulated camshell for mine, so I can keep mine inside that and go from there.
Yep, I used to be insulin dependent, so I know how big of a deal that is. And then if you got to monitor it every day, you got to think about how are you going to monitor that if you can't get batteries for your glucometer.
Yeah.
You learn to use the phagmometer.
Most people don't even know what that is, Jim.
Blood pressure cuff. Thank you, Shrenda. Sometimes I forget my vocabulary is not the average of vocabulary. Blood pressure cuff. Same thing the EMTs use on your arm in the field.
And not the digital ones that you put on and it reads it for you. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah, the old squeeze bulb. Pump that rascal right up.
Yeah.
I'm not that good at reading those. Okay, I don't keep my.
I have a digital BP cuff right in the kitchen there.
Yeah, I have a digital one too, but I don't have a bulb and stethoscope to do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You need stethoscope for the old.
That's right.
way.
You know, so.
Oh my.
So my youngest daughter keeps one. I mean, because she's a nurse, and she does that. So I'm not. You know, I know, but she's still 5 hours away. But where does it go? What I can give out medically I could put fluids in you and everything else and that, but I'm limited my supply of fluids. So that kind of stuff is general medicine is going to hurt tremendously on a lot of people. And especially if they get injured. Most hospitals, we sit down, we look at them, and they say they have, diesel generators to take over and everything else, and all that kind of stuff. You wouldn't believe the failure rate they have on generating stations, even though they're tested.
You mentioned generation station. I just tested my generator last weekend for the first time in 6 months. And you know what? Mike's right. The biggest problem with the maintenance problem with generators is not testing them often enough. Took me a while to get mine fired up.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much fuel you got for it?
Not enough.
Okay.
I don't have 55 gallon. Even one 55 gallon barrel would help a lot, but then you got to have a way to get it out of the bottom of the barrel. I know polyethylene tube and a kerosene siphon pump.
They you can go online and they make a siphon pump it's just a piece of hose, and it's got two balls, a ball on the end of it.
Yep, we got them.
You sit down, you go like this, you drop it in, you go pull it out, and you get it over the side, and you can siphon it. Okay.
I come from West Virginia. I know how to siphon gas.
Even testing out, Michael Dunn, the house generators, they need to be run. Okay. In other words, put a load on them. Put a load on them. Put the house on. Take the house down and the house power down, and let it run, 5 or 6 hours. They need to have that load put on them.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate in my case, I can plug my camper in.
Okay. That's a great thing. That's, a camper.
Yeah, very convenient. I have a 30 amp plug plugged right into from the camper's power cord right into the generator.
Yeah.
And having a camper is great because you can sit down with and get out of the house, which is harder to cool and heat
and heat. That's right.
Because you're going to take it down from, say, you're in a 1,500 or 2,000 square foot house, Jim, and then take it down to a 500 or 600 square foot camper.
There you go.
You know,
And a generator doesn't have to run 24 hours. They'll just run it long enough to cycle all your fridges, freezers, bring the heat up,
Right.
shut it back down.
I run my machine for 2 hours and it ran like a top.
Yeah.
It's also dual fuel.
Hmm.
Dual fuel. Run propane. I run straight propane out of the bottle, or I run gasoline. This last time I tested it on gasoline. Before, I've tested it for a couple hours on propane.
but I'm going to tell you right now, hospitals, police departments, and all those kind of places are going to have tremendous amount of problems with it because they don't change over and run their generators under load.
Generac came up with a system where the machine actually tests itself every 30 days. It would it's already automatically programmed to bring itself up and put itself online, put load on itself, and so on and so forth. But again, that's all relying on that modern technology.
Right. And you're not going to have it when the computers get hit by.
But the Generac machines I'm talking about are run off of natural gas.
Right. But
that's a problem for me here in North Carolina because where I live, we don't have natural gas.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, if systems go down, they may not be able to pump natural gas. It's just,
that's right.
Well, yeah. That's the thing.
yeah, it's just all you can do is do the best you can. There's no guarantees how long you're going to last. That's the.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I already know I'm not going to be a long time laster.
I don't know.
Life.
Don't be such a fatalist.
You can hunt and fish and eat what you hunt, so you're well ahead of a lot of people.
Yeah, but I can't run.
Nobody asked you to. That's why you send bullets out after them because they can run a lot faster than you can.
Yeah,
we had that discussion here at my house. Like if something was that happen or go on, I'm like, the first wave out of here is gonna be a bad one. I'd rather sit it out at home for a little bit, make a plan, and then leave if I have to.
Like Glenn was saying, you only really got to sit down and wait 90 days. Okay, most of the people are going to be gone by that time. Yeah. They're not going to be around. If you can hold out for 90, if you can hold out for 90 days, you're going to be doing better than 90% of the other people. So
there's a good one. There's one for you from Harold Farmer. Mike accidentally highlighted it, but he says invest in some snares. Learning to snare game.
Game ain't gonna last long.
You'd be surprised.
Oh, I know. I mean,
I just snare clear off the whitetail. But if you snare a whitetail, be prepared for a fight.
Oh, I've seen lots of whitetail snared. They get caught in snares all the time, and trappers, and they have to let them go. You can do it, but
when the balloon goes up and the rule of law goes away, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, when that happens, you're going to find the whitetail population is going to go pretty fast.
Yeah, you're right.
Look, if it was to happen today, at least I ain't got to drive 2 hours to go get some turkeys. I can just walk 3 blocks up and get that flock that's been walking around on the highway.
Yeah.
Those groundhogs you've been shooting look pretty tasty.
They ain't been back this year.
They've been back.
Wonder why.
Maybe they know something.
You done thinned the herd in the gene pool.
You know what? When the city said it was my problem, all right, I handled it.
Some of us were there when you were talking about it back then. You don't have to talk about it now. Remember, we're on a public forum.
So
I didn't say how I handled it. No.
We know how you handled it. That 12 gauge was a nice touch.
Look, let me tell you, I had an attitude when I discovered that they have those have-a-heart things, those have-a-heart cages or traps, or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. They
did come in handy, but I was irritated enough to not want to have a heart.
Okay, now next question, guys, is radios, ham radios, GMRS. Which way you guys go?
We've got a Bofang.
I got
We have
Bofang, but I'm in the middle of. Where's it at? Right there. I'm
I would
studying
think
for
you
my
would need both.
test right now, so my technician's
Okay.
test. So
I would think you need both. FRS for short distance communication across the holler, and ham radio for long distance.
So I'm that example that you want to talk about. I don't have either, and mainly because I do not know what to buy, which I have started looking into it, and it's like it's a little bit overwhelming.
trying to ship me some messages. I can help you out.
Mike, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I realized I was muted. I've got a Baofeng, and the guys over at God and Guns have really dived into the ham world. So you can check with them. And Jim, actually, you can use your ham as a short distance and long distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Portable
true.
ham.
The Bofangs, they got their whole section of channels for short distance, and we
Yeah,
use it a
you're
lot of
right.
times when we're going on
You're both right.
going on the property. Yeah, the head car will have a radio, and we'll have a radio. We can just communicate on that instead of calling. So we'll just get on the radio and
And if you're close enough to a repeater.
yeah, close enough to your repeater, you can hear what's going on around. So
Mm-hmm.
How about putting your own repeater up?
You could, yeah.
yeah, I'm fortunate. There's one literally 200 yards from my house. So
Okay. No.
You know that old twin lead wire we used to use for our rotors on our old antennas makes a great antenna.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So you guys are this, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep. And you can sit down and program it to the new ones. You can't do GMRS on the new ones. But this one I have programmed with ham, MERS, and GRMS.
So Sharenda, the radio that Paul was just showing you, the radio itself is only $25
On
Oh, I
Amazon.
could
on Amazon.
afford
On
that.
Amazon, the battery you're looking.
Let it come with one battery.
No, he's got the extended battery.
Yeah, Paul's got
and I would
and
always
extended antenna.
and this extended antenna. You're looking under $50 total there.
Yeah.
I need the link so I make sure I got the right one.
Yeah, I'll send you some links. So
Appreciate you.
yep. And
Can't
this is
Teaching you
the
well.
old book. This is the old book, but it's still good through this year, through June of this year. So I'll have to get the new one. If you want to study for your ham test, this is also
Hold
on
on, Nick.
Amazon.
Hold that up. We'll
Oh, that's what that was. You held up a second ago. Okay.
So this is the technician class. So
Hold
this is
it up,
basically
Mike.
the Bible for
That's beginner's class.
yeah. This is what you can do. Not almost everything. A large variety of the channel or the frequencies and things on there. But that's what most people. That's really about all you need. And then I guarantee you in your area there's a ham radio group and just take a test and it's.
Now the prices have gone up
Mm-hmm.
on that. They used to be $15, and now the FCC has got it up for the $35, I think it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I do know
young.
that there is some groups in my area. When I took the CERT training class, I got a lot of information off of that, but I just haven't picked the radio up or anything yet.
All right, I'm going to call it a night. Good night, Joe.
Night,
Yeah.
Kim.
Good chat. A lot of good information out there.
Yeah.
That's like you can use 209 primers and make booby traps out with them.
Listen to you.
There's things out there for it.
I know.
Yeah, I think I'm going to save my 209 primers for shot shells.
Oh, I agree.
I was thinking that too. I was like,
I don't know. I bought the Kindle version of that book, and I got to get around to getting serious about it. So
Yeah, I'm trying to find the new one.
All I can say is,
this one
if
expires.
shit hits the fan, you don't really need that license. But
nope,
No.
that was my thought. I'll get it now, and so.
But if you're gonna get it, invest in at least a 50-watt unit
yeah,
to
Mhm.
run as a base.
Yep.
Okay. And then, and they're not expensive. A 50-watt unit, you can get them for $120.
yeah.
Yeah.
A ham unit. Okay. You get into the GRMS, and then you're going to spend, $300 for a 50-watt unit. But you get a ham unit, a 50-watter, and then you can get these little handheld units for call it $40-$50.
Yeah.
You can buy microphones for them. You can get them rigged up so you're ready to go. What I got one that's set up to go on my vest. There you go.
Yep. Make you a battery box, have an old ammo can, and put a.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I got it where I can hook a solar panel to that. So
you can get 12-volt wet cells. They're sealed
Mm-hmm.
at the hardware store now.
yeah.
And put enough so that puts enough juice out for.
Yeah.
Um, 22 177 or 22 caliber air rifle, or bigger. You can go bigger. Just think about
The problem with going bigger is you have to be able to figure out how to fill it.
You have
177 and 22 are still, you can still have the spring action and the
Mhm.
good old pump. Anything bigger than that, they're all pneumatic, and you got
They're
to figure out how to fill them.
PCPs, yes, and you can buy pumps that you can sit down and pump them up.
Yep.
Hand pump. But they are extremely cheap to shoot, especially the spring piston 22s and 177s.
Yep.
I think it's you can buy 500 target and hunting pellets in a tin can for what, $12 or something like that now, maybe a little more. They're good for taking things like rats, squirrels, rabbits, that kind of stuff. Birds, they can, you can shoot birds all day long. And pigeons are still squab, so they are edible.
Mm-hmm. Tree rats.
Yep.
Going back to reloading, we found primers local this past weekend.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
not terribly priced.
Yeah, they had rifle. We missed out on the small rifle, but you went and picked me up 1,000 small pistol, and they had small pistol magnums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
What brand?
Federal.
Federal. That's right.
Federal small pistols?
Federal
Yeah.
small pistol. Yep.
Oh, I'd give a couple of my Smith & Wessons only take small Federal small pistols because they are the easiest to ignite.
Yeah. $75 1,000.
That's not bad.
No.
I think it was too.
And they had the following day Federal gold medal match bench rest primers. They won $125 for those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's about normal for the bench rest right now.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So
that's what we've been seeing around here. It's starting to get down to about 70, 75.
Mhm.
So
Now, your gun shop didn't have it though, right?
No, we don't carry primers where I work. I
Okay.
want to, but we carry 209s. So whenever we get 209s in, I pick those up and store those away. So
Silence 22 rifle. It'd be nice, yeah. And if you got access to a machine shop after the whatever happens, you can make it, and you'll be ahead of the game.
So Dane Austin said, check your app store for free ham study app. He passed the tech and the general license using that. There's a few different options on there, so I guess we'd have to see which one. Maybe he can send me a message or comment which one he used, because there's a few different options. So.
Yeah, there's a few of them out there. Remember, you only got to answer 15 questions. That's it. So,
yeah, I got to get around to getting serious about it. So,
yeah, I was in a class right before COVID, and it was a monthly class, and we'd sit down once a month for like 3 or 4 months. They would teach you, basically take us through this book, and we did 2 months in a row. That was January and February of 2020, and then we went on complete shutdown, and so everything went online learning. I'm like, nope, I can't do it. So I figured I'll put time towards it. So
how long is the license good for? They just changed it to, I think it's 5 years.
I think it's 5, and you just have to send a letter in or something like that. Basically, yeah, keep my thing.
I don't know.
I thought how it used to be. I don't know what they changed it to now.
They just changed it. I mean, the GRMS used to be $75 for 5 years. Now it's dropped down to $35. Ham radio now has gone up to It used to be 15, now it's 35, I believe, to even things out, and 5 years. So if I remember correctly, there was this big change this month. $100 to renew. Michael Dunn. Wow.
Well, I think that about wraps it up for tonight.
Okay. We didn't get to our question today.
No, save it for next week.
Save it for next week. Okay.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, there's lots of different things you can do for reasonably cheap. So, and he said it was Ham Radio Prep. It was the name of the app. So,
let's look into that.
But yeah, like I said, the guys over at God and Guns have got actually, I think they have a Ham Radio Facebook group too. So check out Troy and Doug over there, and so. But
and there's other things you can do too. Is get a shortwave radio and listen in on what's going on without having the local news station polish the news for you.
Mm-hmm.
You can get Al Jazeera. You can get RTTV. You can the Russian radio. You can get BBC. You can get intel from a lot of different communication firms and countries,
Yep.
and kind of build up your own what's going in the world, and not get whitewashed.
Yep. Well, gang.
I'm gonna call it an evening.
Cranky.
As Sharenda is over there giving us our braille stuff with her hand, she's interpreting for us.
Yeah. Sign language.
There we go.
Y'all can see that.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely wow, that's not bad. That was our first spam.
Oh, bunch of them.
Yeah,
We've had those in
usually-
quite a few weeks, actually.
Yeah, usually you block one and then Reiki. So, figure out what I was gonna say now. Thanks, spammer, jackass. But I mean, it starts out with the basic stuff. You know, making sure you got water supply, making sure you got basic food. You know, that type of thing. So
6 months worth of pizza in the freezer.
Yep. Reiki. So, sorry, I've ran out of caffeine for the day. Anyway,
Same.
you know, if you've got thoughts, ideas you want to share with us on what you do or what you have started doing, send us an email, reloadingpodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on MeWe. We're on Discord. And we're on Instagram. So, you know, just send a message. You can also set a text, 608-467-0308 if you want to send us a text. But yeah, I mean, it's lots of good things. So Chris Sharp's been helping me get caught up. I'm going to go post another podcast as soon as we're done here. And, well, no, Harold, see, the nice thing is once the world goes to heck, I don't have to go to work anymore. I can sleep a lot more. Yeah, right there. Anyway, so West Covina Dodge said, remember you have 40 gallons in your water heater and 3 gallons in your toilet tank. Yep. And remember, the stuff that's in the tank hasn't been contaminated. Unless, of course, your tank's nasty.
Or you put those dang on blue tabs in it so you get the
Yeah.
pretty blue water.
That's right. Or somebody decides to do an upper decker on you. Then, you know. For those of you who don't know what that is, Google it. Anyway, so I mean, there's lots of different options, different things you can do. You know, how serious or how not serious you want to get, type thing. So, thank Glenn for coming on. Check out Prepping 2.0 on the Firearms Radio Network, one of the newer shows. So,
Get his book.
yeah,
Books.
read the books.
Read the books.
They're really good read. They really are. And like I said, it honestly is the most likely scenario. We've already kind of seen some of what leads to it. So, but no, Kutcha, I'm not washing my face in the bowl. How did you get double pink eye, sir? Well,
You know, there's always worshiping the bowl, right? Right, Nick?
uh-huh. Paying homage to the porcelain gods.
That's right.
Yes. Yes, indeed. And on that note, I want to take time to thank Jake and Ryan over at Patriot Patch Company. That's patriotpatch.co for being bandwidth sponsors. Make sure you check out the patch of the month. This is the current patch. It's pretty good. Nice tactical Easter bunny on a land speeder. Hopefully he doesn't drive like a stormtrooper and smash into some trees. And did we lose Sharonda? Bye, Sharonda. So long, Sharonda. Farewell, Sharonda. I guess she left. So, yeah, and I got to take time to thank the folks over at Primary Arms. I'm not going to get a chance to get out and try that upper they sent me out this weekend because I'm going to go chase gobblers. But make sure you swing over there. They've got good sales running all the time. They've got some stuff that you can use to start your little prepping stuff too. They've got some ammo cans and some other stuff over there. So first aid kits and stuff like that. That's important. So make sure you swing over there. Check them out. Check out Jake and Ryan over at Patriot Patch Company. And Michael Dunn, if you look right above Nick's head, you'll see what he's got with his. I actually created a nice little frame and stuff, but the fabric I used was absolute crap. And so it's really saggy. But yeah, right now they're kind of in a drawer, but yeah, I'm going to make another one. So.
What are you doing?
Showing mine off. So
Just like a bulletin board?
all I did was take a bulletin board and took fabric and just taped it and kind of pinned it to the back. And
so, or dry
it
erase
works
board,
good.
You know, or
Yeah.
plywood. So, well, I'm thinking that plywood would be kind of expensive right now. So, what I did is I've got an old picture frame that it was one of the old-fashioned ones where they actually stretched the canvas and then had a frame around it. So I took the canvas off and then I put the fabric and stretched the fabric around. So there's lots of different things. Also, Patriot Patch Company also has magnetic patch panels that you can get that'll like stick to your fridge or whatever, and then you can put the patches right on it. So it all depends. Might look at making a patch panel for my safe behind me and cover that old damn thing because I've got a lot of patches. So
Milspec Monkey sells
yeah, they got some stuff too.
Yeah, they sell a multicam loop fabric, so you can get a whole yard of it, which is 3 foot by I think it's 55 inches.
Yeah,
and do that. So different ways to go.
Indeed. So, and on that note, folks, keep your brass shiny.
Jump on the mill, start truck bus.
Teach them to shoot and reload and prep when they're young.
And Grandpa told me, don't listen to Mama. Violence does solve problems.
And as Jim would say if he was still here, join a Second Amendment supporting organization. Make sure you're helping to fight for the good cause, because as Rob and Vemjan have said many times, once you start giving them out, that's kind of hard to get it back. So make sure you get a hold of your local elected officials and your Congress critters and let them know what you think too. So more importantly, if you're struggling, 1-800-273-8255. Give the experts there a call and let them know that you need some help. So, and Sharenda says, teach a lady to reload. She just might like it. She has internet issues sometimes, so that's what happened. And good night.
Right.
Good night.